The Galactic Council chamber glowed with controlled light, its vast circular tiers carved from materials older than most civilizations. Thousands of delegates filled the seats, their species varied, their voices subdued by protocol and complacency. This was not a place where history happened anymore. It was where history was archived, categorized, and forgotten. High Chancellor HFY rose from the central dais, his elongated frame casting a shadow across the crystalline floor. His voice carried without amplification, smooth and assured. "For millennia of uninterrupted galactic stability," he said. 4,000 cycles since the last existential threat was neutralized. A soft ripple of approval passed through the chamber. Stability was the Council's favorite word. It absolved everything. A delegate from the Theskar Collective inclined his crested head. "We have thrived under Council oversight. Trade routes remain secure. No emerging species has required intervention." HFY allowed a thin smile. "Because we learned from history." Another voice joined, academic, detached. "Including the Sol incident." The word incident floated through the chamber like dust. Several delegates adjusted their posture. Others did not bother reacting at all. "The Sol system," HFY said calmly, "was a regrettable necessity. The species known as humans demonstrated unchecked adaptability, rapid militarization, and emotional volatility. Left uncontained, projections showed a 93% probability of large-scale galactic conflict within 5 centuries. And so Earth was erased," said the Theskar delegate, not unkindly. "For the greater good. For survival," HFY corrected. "Which history has validated." A soft chime echoed, an analyst's request to speak. The Chancellor gestured permission. "Routine deep-range scans have detected an anomaly beyond map space," the analyst said. "Sector designation, the Black Halo." A murmur spread. The Black Halo was a dead region, warped by ancient gravitational scars. No civilization had ever emerged from it. "Clarify anomaly type," HFY said. "Signal-based," the analyst replied. "Structured." Repeating. "Non-random." "Origin?" another counselor asked. The analyst hesitated. "Unknown." HFY's gaze sharpened. "Unknown is not an answer. Narrow it." Silence stretched, thin and uncomfortable. "It resembles pre-extinction data models," the analyst said carefully. "Mathematical constructs once associated with soul-based transmissions." The chamber stilled. "That is impossible," snapped a delegate from the Virex Dominion. "Humanity was eliminated." "Yes," HFY said. "Completely." The analyst swallowed. "The probability matrices align regardless." "Coincidence?" HFY said. "The galaxy is vast. Patterns repeat." "But the syntax," the analyst began. "Enough," the Chancellor said, voice firm. "Log the signal as relic interference. Archive it." A pause. "With respect, Chancellor, the signal is active. It's adjusting." "Adjusting to what?" "To our scans." The silence that followed was heavier this time. HFY straightened, folding his hands behind his back. "Then cease scanning." The analyst blinked. "Cease all directed observation," the Chancellor finished. "If it is nothing, it will fade. If it is something, we will address it on our terms." Reluctantly, the analyst nodded. "Yes, Chancellor." The session resumed, but the rhythm had fractured. Delegates exchanged glances, some uneasy, others annoyed at the disruption. Ancient crimes were best left buried. As the chamber emptied, HFY remained behind, staring at the star map hovering above the floor. The Sol system marker had long been removed. "Clean. Final. 4,000 years," he murmured. A private channel opened. "Chancellor," said the voice of the military overseer. "Long-range sensors recorded residual energy distortions before shutdown. Massive ones." HFY did not turn. "Define massive." "Fleet scale." "That's absurd." Yes, the overseer agreed quietly. It is. HFY Arkale closed his eyes for a moment. He remembered the council vote. The certainty. The fear disguised as wisdom. Monitor passively, he said at last. No engagement. No alerts. And if it approaches? HFY Arkale opened his eyes, fixed on the dark edge of the map. Nothing approaches from extinction. The channel closed. Beyond known space, where no council law applied and no maps dared linger, something ancient listened as the galaxy went silent. The signal changed once more, not louder, not aggressive. Just precise. A reply, waiting patiently to be heard. The council believed the past was dead. They were wrong. The signal did not fade. It deepened. Across the outer monitoring arrays, instruments recalibrated themselves without instruction, forced into alignment by something that understood their limits better than the engineers who built them. What began as faint interference sharpened into structure, then intent. The black halo, long dismissed as a scar in space, was no longer empty. Inside the Galactic Council's observation nexus, analysts stared at their displays in quiet disbelief. It's resolving, one whispered. Another shook her head. That region shouldn't allow coherent mass translation. The gravity wells are being bypassed, said the chief observer, voice flat. Not resisted. Bypassed. A cluster of lights appeared on the holomap. Then more. Not erratic. Perfectly spaced. Too orderly to be natural. How many? Someone asked. The answer took too long. Unknown, the observer said finally. They're unfolding. The council reconvened within the hour. This time, there were no ceremonial delays, no indulgent speeches. The chamber felt smaller, its ancient walls less reassuring. High Chancellor HFY Arkale stood rigid as the holomap expanded above the dais. Shapes slid into clarity, vast, angular silhouettes emerging from the darkness beyond charted space. No heat signatures. No standard propulsion trails. Just presence. This is a provocation, snapped the Virex delegate. Authorized defensive mobilization. No, HFY Arkale said sharply. We observe. They are inside approach distance. They are stationary, the Chancellor replied. And silent. As if responding to the word, the map pulsed. A single object separated from the formation and advanced with deliberate slowness. It stopped precisely at the threshold of council-controlled territory. A boundary respected. A channel request appeared, overriding every frequency at once. Automatic firewalls failed. Encryption collapsed. The request was not forced. It was allowed. Block it, a delegate demanded. The tech officer's mandibles twitched. We can't. It's already connected. The chamber lights dimmed as a single figure resolved in the air above the floor. No armor. No weapons. A human male, standing calmly as if in a quiet room rather than the center of galactic authority. He appeared young by human standards, dark hair cut close, eyes steady and unremarkable at first glance. No grand gestures. No intimidation. Just stillness. My name is Aaron Valen, he said. His voice carried warmth and weight, unfiltered. I speak for humanity. The word hit like a physical blow. That is impossible, the Thesker delegate said hoarsely. You are extinct. Aaron's gaze shifted toward the speaker. We were declared extinct. HFY Arkale stepped forward. You stand before the Galactic Council under false pretenses. Identify your species' origin and fleet designation. Aaron inclined his head slightly. Not submissive. Polite. Origin Earth, he said. Fleet designation, Terran Reclamation Armada. The chamber erupted, voices overlapping, protocols breaking. Some delegates shouted denials. Others stared, frozen. HFY Arkale raised both hands. Silence returned in uneven waves. You claim to be human, the Chancellor said carefully. Then explain how an eradicated species returns after 4,000 years. Aaron did not answer immediately. Instead, he looked around the chamber, taking in the countless forms watching him. You erased our home, he said at last. You did not erase us. A delegate barked a laugh. Bold words from a ghost. Aaron's eyes flicked toward the speaker. We are not ghosts. Ghosts linger. We move forward. Forward into what? The delegate demanded. Survival, Aaron replied. HFY's voice sharpened. You have entered restricted space without authorization. We stopped at your border, Aaron said. We requested dialogue. We have fired no weapons. And yet you override our systems. We spoke, Aaron said simply. You listened. A pause followed. Uncomfortable. Accurate. What do you want? HFY asked. To be heard, Aaron said. And to remind the galaxy of a truth it chose to forget. HFY studied him. You expect us to believe humanity survived exile in a dead region of space? No, Aaron said. You will verify it. The holomap shifted. The human fleet expanded into full view, hundreds of vessels, each dwarfing council warships. Their design defied familiar principles, no symmetry meant for intimidation, no exposed aggression. Function refined beyond aesthetics. Military officers exchanged frantic data bursts. They're masking everything, one hissed. Power output, weapon arrays, propulsion, it's all integrated. Integrated into what? Another asked. The answer came unbidden, transmitted directly into the chamber's sensory field. Into ourselves, Aaron said. HFY felt it then, a subtle pressure, not on his body, but on his certainty. This was not a species begging for recognition. This was something disciplined, unified, patient. You should not exist, the Chancellor said quietly. Aaron nodded once. We know. Silence settled, heavy and charged. We request a formal audience, Aaron continued. Public. Recorded. Unaltered. And if we refuse? HFY asked. Aaron met his gaze without hostility. Then we wait. For how long? A faint, almost human softness touched Aaron's expression. We have learned patience. The transmission ended. The human figure vanished. The fleet remained unmoving. HFY exhaled slowly. 4,000 years ago, the Council had chosen certainty over risk. Now, something they had buried in the past was standing at the door, calm, undeniable, and very much alive. Humanity had returned. And it was not asking for permission. The council chamber had never been so quiet. Aaron Valen stood alone at the center of the vast floor, unguarded, unrestrained. The human fleet remained outside the system, distant yet present, like a held breath. Every delegate watched him with a different emotion, fear, anger, disbelief, but none spoke. Even High Chancellor HFY seemed hesitant, as though words themselves had become unreliable. Aaron broke the silence. You called Earth an incident, he said, his voice even. I will show you what that word meant. With a subtle gesture, the air around him shifted. Light unfolded outward, forming a sphere that expanded until it filled the chamber. The council's walls dissolved into illusion. They stood on a planet. Blue oceans stretched beneath a pale sky. Clouds drifted slowly. Continents glowed with living cities. The sound came next, distant traffic, wind through trees, the low hum of a world alive. Several delegates recoiled instinctively. This is a reconstruction, Aaron said. Based on archived council sensor data, human records, and your own classified reports. The image moved. Cities sharpened. Towers rose, not threatening, not militarized. Ordinary. Crowded. Human. Children ran through a park. A woman laughed as she chased them. Somewhere, music played through an open window. A Thesker delegate whispered. They were peaceful. They were curious, Aaron replied. Creative. Flawed. Like every species in this room. The sky darkened. A new object appeared above the planet, vast, artificial, surrounded by a distortion that bent light itself. Council members recognized it immediately. The weapon had been erased from public archives, but memory had not faded completely. XYRRK's jaw tightened. The containment platform, Aaron said. Authorized by unanimous council vote. No, a delegate snapped. It was a deterrent. Aaron did not look at him. Watch. The platform activated. There was no explosion. No dramatic fire. The planet's magnetic field collapsed inward, crushing itself. Oceans rose, then vanished. Cities folded as if made of paper. In seconds, Earth became silent stone. The illusion froze. No one spoke. This is the moment you called necessary, Aaron said quietly. No warning. No evacuation. No declaration. A delegate rose unsteadily. You were a threat. Your expansion was projected, Aaron interrupted. Not committed. XYRRKL stepped forward. We prevented a war that would have consumed billions. Aaron finally turned to face him. You guaranteed one. The scene shifted. Fragments of ships tore through unstable space. Human vessels, civilian, unarmed, vanished into collapsing corridors. Faces flashed briefly, fear, resolve, confusion. We survived by accident, Aaron said. By desperation. By refusing to accept your verdict. The illusion showed harsh environments beyond mapped space. Star systems twisted by gravity, resources scarce, physics unreliable. We learned, Aaron continued. We adapted. We stopped dividing ourselves. There was no Earth left to argue over. A council scientist whispered. This level of integration, your technology is fused with cognition. Yes, Aaron said. Because survival demanded unity, not hierarchy. The illusion faded, returning the chamber to reality. The weight of what they had seen lingered. You could have returned sooner, XYRRKL said. Why wait 4,000 years? Aaron answered without hesitation. Because rage burns fast. Memory endures. A murmur rippled through the chamber. We did not come to conquer, Aaron said. We came to correct the record. And if the record condemns us? Asked a Virex delegate. Then it should, Aaron replied. XYRRKL folded his hands. You stand here demanding moral authority from those who govern the galaxy. No, Aaron said. I am offering you a chance to acknowledge reality. And if we refuse? The Chancellor asked. Aaron gestured upward. The chamber's star map ignited, showing council infrastructure, defense grids, communication hubs, financial nodes, every system tied to centralized control. You have already lost the ability to hide, Aaron said. We will not destroy your worlds. We will dismantle your lies. A delegate shouted. This is extortion. No, Aaron said calmly. This is transparency. XYRRKL's voice hardened. You believe yourself righteous. I believe history should be honest, Aaron replied. What you feared was not our strength. It was our refusal to disappear quietly. The Chancellor stared at him for a long moment. You want the galaxy turned against us. I want the galaxy to decide, Aaron said. With the truth intact. Silence returned, heavier than before. Finally, XYRRKL spoke. If we grant this broadcast, what follows? Aaron met his gaze. That depends on you. The implication settled like a verdict. Outside, beyond the chamber walls, the human fleet remained still. No weapons charged. No threats issued. They waited, not as supplicants, not as conquerors, but as survivors demanding to be remembered. The crime had been shown. The reckoning was no longer optional. The first strike came without warning, and without fire. Across the Council core worlds, defense arrays blinked offline in perfect sequence. Shields collapsed. Weapon platforms powered down. Command relays fell silent as if they had never existed. There were no explosions, no casualties, no chaos in the streets. Only the sudden, terrifying realization that the Council no longer controlled the mechanisms that enforced its authority. In the war chamber beneath the council hall, alarms failed to sound. Screens dimmed instead, replaced by a single human sigil, simple, unadorned. "They've neutralized everything," a military overseer said, voice tight. "No energy surge. No traceable attack vector." HFY Arkale stood at the center of the room, motionless. "They promised transparency," he said. "This is what it looks like." A priority channel opened. Aaron Valen appeared, his image steady. "We are dismantling centralized coercion," Aaron said. "Nothing more." "You are collapsing governance," HFY Arkale replied. "You collapsed it 4,000 years ago," Aaron said. "We are only removing the scaffolding that hid the damage." Reports streamed in from across the galaxy. Trade guilds suspended council recognition. Member species invoked emergency autonomy clauses that had never before been used. Ancient alliances unraveled in hours. In the public forums, the broadcast of Earth's destruction spread without restraint. Citizens watched, stunned, as a living world vanished under council authorization. The word incident became a symbol of shame. A Thesca representative addressed their home assembly, voice breaking. "We were told it was necessary. We were lied to." Defections followed. Systems once loyal to the council declared neutrality. Others demanded accountability. HFY Arkale retreated to his private chamber as the institution he had shaped began to dissolve. The walls there were bare, stripped of ceremonial grandeur. He did not summon guards when the door opened. Aaron entered alone. "You've won," HFY Arkale said quietly. Aaron shook his head. "This was never a contest. You've taken our power." "No," Aaron said. "We return choice to the galaxy?" HFY Arkale turned to face him. Age showed now, etched into his features. "You could erase us. End every council world." Aaron met his gaze. "That would prove you right." Silence stretched between them. "You fear what humans might become," HFY Arkale continued. "That fear drove us." "It drove you to murder," Aaron said. "Fear does not absolve intent." HFY Arkale exhaled slowly. "What sentence do you carry for me, then?" Aaron considered him. "You will live." The Chancellor frowned. "That is not mercy." "No," Aaron agreed. "It is memory." The doors reopened. Council delegates entered, not as rulers, but as witnesses. Aaron addressed them all. "The Galactic Council is dissolved," he said. "Its authority voided by its own crimes." No one objected. "Each species here will determine its own governance," Aaron continued. "Humanity will not rule. We will observe. Intervene only to prevent erasure." A delegate asked, voice trembling. "And if we resist?" Aaron answered evenly. "Then you will do so without lies protecting you." HFY Arkale was escorted away, not in chains, but in silence. His punishment was not execution, nor exile. He would stand as a living record of a choice the galaxy would never forget. Outside the core worlds, the human fleet finally moved. Not forward, not inward, but outward, dispersing to the edges of known space. Guardians, not conquerors. Aaron transmitted one final message, broadcast to every inhabited system. "Earth existed," he said. "It was destroyed without justification. Humanity survived. We do not return to claim dominion. We return to ensure memory endures." The signal ended. Across the galaxy, monuments rose, not to war, but to truth. Earth was named again. Taught again. Remembered. In the quiet that followed, the galaxy adjusted to a future without the comfort of forgotten crimes. Humanity stepped back into the stars, not with fury, but with resolve. They had been erased once. Never again.